All right, Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm just Mopar Joe. We're back on the Ramcharger revival video here. I have not shown the truck very much lately, as I've been trying to focus more on my Sykeston engine build, racing, all that at No Name Nationals. But I have been working on the Ramcharger in the background. Let me show you what I got going here. Here's our happy little 360, plopped right into place. I had to wait on the motor mounts or engine mounts to come in, the rubber isolators. And they finally made it in, but they look pretty cheap, so I actually have them bolted through on the backside in case it ever has an issue. A lot of these new parts, everybody knows you could have a problem with them. But I got a lot more stuff planned with this coming up soon. I was scared to put the engine in, fire it up, and go with that old gas tank in there. And let me show you that tank. And I've got it cleaned out pretty well. It's a plastic tank, so luckily there's no rust in there to speak of. The old cinder, I popped it out, resealed it, double checked to be sure. I actually set my fuel gauge, and it does work well. I had thought about replacing it, but the last new cinder that I bought from the parts store, I had to rebuild it before it would actually work. So I'm going with the old one that actually does work. I got my new grommet in here, added just a fitting there for that hose. It's just another vent. I think this thing vents plenty, but having that may help it fill up a little faster. So tank's looking better. Here is the old skid plate that goes under that tank. This was full, like you can actually see a rust line here. This is how much dirt and funk was inside of this. And it was just packed against the bottom of the tank. I bet it weighed 100 pounds when it came down and landed on me, but that's all good. I sprayed that with the rust treatment spray. Then I'll probably just go through and throw some paint on top of it. It's 10,000 times better than it was. And it's not really one of those that I could sandblast this and take it 10 other steps, but it's still doing the job pretty well. Here's our little carburetor I got to put on the engine. It is the ABS2, and I kind of got inspired by seeing Tim's video at 318 Will Run. I've wanted to try an ABS, and we needed a new one for this engine. It should be pretty perfect for it. It claims 650 CFM. And we got a strong but a mild 360 here, so all that's good. I got some extra gaskets and stuff. Here's my header gaskets. Gonna try the Pro Forms. I got my headers done up, painted up, looking nice. I gotta say, 4-hole into an open spacer here. See it has that design kind of like the HVH stuff, but that'll help with any fuel boiling or any of that business. We got plenty of room under the hood, so that's good. I got a little extra engine oil, high zinc, to do my oil change with. New gasket there, all that's nice. Let me show you these old straps here for this fuel tank. There was see all the funk that just fell off. No way in the world I was going to clean that up and try to use it. If I was very desperate and had to, I probably could. It would take a grinder and a wire wheel, and then it would be so thin, there may be a chance of it splitting later. So the only place I could find to get these straps nicely made, the place is called Metal by Charlie. So I talked to my buddy Tanner. He does a lot of D100 stuff. Messes with these trucks a lot, and he said, man, this guy's legit, so check him out. All looks real slick. So those will be ready to go. I got to get my bolts back in. So today the plan is get the tank stuck back in, all that tidied back up back here. I got new fuel lines. I think it takes about a 1/2 inch, a 3/8, and I think that's a 1/4 inch. So all the different ones. My filler neck tube actually looks pretty good. Tied in, cleaned that up. Had lots of mud and funk packed under there, so I'll get her cleaned out. New clamps and stuff. I had to pull the hitch off to be able to get the tank out. So it's just a 27-step process. But She's coming along nicely, and then I can also flush my lines out. I did not want to run that new engine, a new carburetor, even with a new filter, with those old crusty lines without being really flushed out both directions. Gas tank is in. I like our straps. They look pretty sharp. I poured 5 gallons in it, and before I put the skid plate on, I wanted to leave it in there a few hours, kind of roll around and really check that there's no leaks. Our gas gauge does work, which is nice. It moved just barely. And if you have a Ramcharger, you probably know that they hold a lot of gasoline. It's also not setting very well on a level surface. The rear end is up higher than the front. I got one header lifted up into place, and I figured out that every header bolt that I found barely gets any thread engagement at all with these gaskets. So, like, that doesn't look too bad. About a 1/4 inch sticking out, maybe 3/16. When you put it on that gasket there, you get about 1/8 of an inch sticking into the head, and that's just not enough for me. So I had to run to town, buy some bolts, and I'm gonna get it stuck on the right way. Something else I did, replace these old monstrosities of transmission mounts. That one's not terrible, I guess you'd say, but the one side, the bushing had fallen out. These old funky rubbers here. There we go. Transmission fully rebuilt. Transfer case, he pulled it apart, cleaned everything, said the chain looked beautiful. All that's ready to rock and roll. I got the top side of it capped off. I don't know if you can see it or not. Where the old vacuum lines went, because I put that new front end lock in it there. See, my header's just sitting there. I'm gonna get that bolted up now, put my oil filter back on, keep pushing. Well, we know the devil's always in the details of this stuff. I've been pulling every bracket off the old engine and cleaning them up. They were mostly packed in grease and funk and whatever. I was able to take these to my house and sandblast them and then paint them. Same thing with this battery tray. It was starting to rust, but I kind of like the original trays and just how they always fit. So this came out of the truck. It's in nice shape. I got some new tie downs for it and stuff. And I can reuse my little clips that snap in there. Got our pulleys cleaned up and painted. I've already got those brackets on, ACs on. I'm pretty impressed with how the factory AC compressor went on this Torker 2 intake. Move my cat back. That is the Torker 2 340. It is a single plane, which scares a lot of people for a street application. I don't know why. I really like this intake. I used to run this on my old black truck in high school. It did really well for me, and it somewhat matches our cam RPM range as well, so it's going to work nice. This engine's about 9-to-1 compression, something like that, with those KB pistons, so all that's in harmony. I'm going to get the rest of the accessories put on here. I'll probably end up having to do a new AC compressor anyway. The AC's not working, so I didn't go through trying to detail that stuff. I'm going to get back down in here some, clean this crap out. New battery cables all over. This is, you know, old stuff. Got to redo some wiring stuff that's not pretty either. That's okay. Vacuum clean all that out, put our tray back in. I've got the new pieces of mat that go in here. I need to get those done at some point. Put my new heater hoses in, tidy up that wiring and stuff. But little by little, it's going to actually be a running vehicle again. I got the headers hung in. I left this one loose because the starter's not in yet. Torque converter bolts are hooked up. Let's see. Dipstick's in, all that's good. I could actually fill it right now if I wanted to. Got to do some of that stuff. But yeah, I was pretty pleased with the way this AC compressor went in using the factory brackets. I didn't have to bend anything. I had to put my plugs in the back, tighten them to where they'd be a little more flush. Add a couple of shim spacers there just to make that bracket in harmony. But I think pulley's going to line up nicely. I know the alternator and the AC does already. I've got new belts. I've got new hoses. Everything's going to be basically new. I got our fuel lines washed out. I got to get a new fuel filter tomorrow. Here's our factory radiator. Pressure washed, cleaned up, painted. You can see straight through it. It's really nice. And let me take that back. This may not be a factory one. It may have been replaced already, but it looks really good. Clean on the inside. And it's, I don't know, full thickness. I didn't look to see how many. Seemed to work great on our engine run stand. That's the one I had on there before it was cleaned up. So we're going to try it again on the truck. Here's our clutch fan. I got it pressure washed, cleaned up, repainted. It's beautiful. We'll see how she works. I don't know if I've already told you or not, but I'll show you. We bled the brakes one time the other day. Since all that new stuff in the front, it didn't have any brakes. To the rear, I wasn't getting any pressure, and I think I figured out it was a line somewhere. So we now have rear brakes as well. That's exciting. So it's kind of just like you pick something and you start working and you quit for the day and you come back and you pick back up on it. So after several days, this thing will be back together. So let's keep working. Put my new power steering pump on, new lines on. All of it looked wonderful. Filled it up. I just ran my bolt in here so I could spin this thing over with my impact. And I spun it over the impact. Cycled the wheels back and forth. Everything looks good. And I lay under it. See our drips. I had suspected this before. Yeah. So right out of here, front of that box, it has dripped. It hit the, I guess you call that a drag link. And then it hit the ground. Over and over and over. I had a suspicion because you can see how wet that front leaf spring is. And this hasn't had power steering fluid in it in several months now. So anything that was left in the box was just kind of seeping down, down, and down, and down. I'll get one ordered. The parts store has been wearing me out. I had a certain O'Reilly's that I used to love and enjoy till the manager left and went to the different one. I've got one belt that is correct. The other belt that I got was too long. So I called and gave them a Gates part number, 7570. Took them 10 minutes to even look it up. I also needed a fuel filter. I'm going to put one on this that has a return line, and I want it to be 3/8. And I'm going to run the return line back through one of the other two. See, this has 3 lines coming to the front. I'll probably make that one my return and make that one my inlet. All good. And I could probably make a 5/16 work. It'd be fine. I just wanted the 3/8. And it overloaded their brains with what I was asking for. And I even gave them the part number for that, and it still was not working. So we'll push forward. I may give up for the day. I got my pulleys on, brackets on, power steering on. Little by little. Well, I'll go ahead and put my battery tray in. I cleaned this stuff up down here I told you about, and I sprayed the rust fix on this. So that's going to end up being covered when it goes back in, but at least now it's been kind of etched. And I still got to put my mat in here, clean that up some. It's starting to look like a truck though. I've been fighting with all the crap in the back. There's that factory oil pressure sensor. Well, I guess it's a sensor and a sender, we'll call it. 2 plugs back there I had to stand on my head and get to. I got my fuel lines ran. I got new heater hoses hooked up. You'll see my orange box is just roughly mounted on here right now. I'll probably end up doing something like this for this fire core distributor. If I don't get an FBO box, we'll see. I was not going to rely on the factory. I don't know if it's a lean burn or what it is, an 86. The plug-in for the distributor would actually work, but I was talking to Mopar Nut 62 about this too. This distributor is basically locked out. There's nothing to advance inside here. All it's doing is just a pickup. So what that means is all the timing control of any of that stuff would be in this computer. I think it's shoved into here somewhere. And I don't want that in conjunction with my mechanical advance and a vacuum advance if or whenever it happens. So I'm just going simple orange box right now. I've got it wired in just to a hot wire when the key's on. I don't have a ballast resistor hooked up, and I don't plan on running this very long like this. I've got to redo some other wiring, if you can't tell. Right. Get rid of a bunch of these vacuum lines and stuff that's no longer used. All kinds of stuff. But beyond that, my fuel line's hooked up. I got I went ahead and went with a 5/16 filter. I believe that's what actual size the factory line was. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but the hose fit very nicely on it. All that stuff's properly clamped, and I ran the return line out of it. My goal is get this thing running, get it on the trailer and bring it back to my house so I can work on it some there. I got another project coming in this old dirty shop here, and I'd like to spend a little more time on this at home. I got a little better lighting, etc. So I'm gonna get my radiator dropped in, hook up my 2 transmission lines. I have those ran. I'm pushing forward. I got a nice new ground system ran here. I'll probably have to redo these 2 here, but big nice 4-gauge wire ran all the way around. New one here. The heat, what am I saying? The melting connectors after you crimp. All that stuff's good, nice, tight. It's starting to look like a truck, so I'm excited for that. It should be running by the end of today. That's my goal. And I got about an hour and a half left. So my new ABS carburetor I'm about to drop on. You see this spacer I wanted to show you again. That'll be the bottom side of that. Kind of tapers in. Goes into my open plenum manifold. So sends a little better booster signal, they say, to the carburetor. This is the ABS2 that has the annular boosters in the front and the air door in the back. I'm going to try it just like it is. See how she works. My fuel lines ran and all that stuff. So let me get it dropped on and we'll keep pushing. The other thing, you'll notice my ghetto piece of baling wire there. I don't have time to hook that up. Also, I don't have time today to hook it up. I will obviously redo this correctly. But right now the kickdown is actually semi-hooked up. If I wanted to drive it, I'd probably put a bolt right there and get rid of these little washers later. But all that works. I can pump the pedal inside the truck and it works, and I can drive it up on the trailer, as I mentioned before. Lots of little things are going to change from what you see right here. PCV, that's an old one. I got to get a new grommet and a new PCV. They don't readily sell those at my parts stores around here, so it's kind of a special item to get it picked up. But what I'm going to do now is get my bottle, let that thing pump into it as I spin it over. Got 5 gallons of gas in the back. Maybe we can make magic happen. Pour a little gas down it, maybe it'll start. Hey. We like it. I forgot to mention the headers are still undone here. So it'll be a little bit loud. I got my line hooked up because I didn't want it shooting anything out across here. While I was attempting to run, I'm gonna get these bowls filled up nicely, and let's try it again. Well, no leaks is good. I put my little Muffies on. I know y'all have seen them before. I had them on the dyno. Made 535 horsepower to those mufflers. I wanted to quiet this thing down some because I'm about to bring it into my neighborhood. I think it actually sounds better with that little collectors and mufflers on too. So if I hook my hot wire back up here, we can finally, there we go. We can finally see if she has forward and reverse. How about first official road test with our new engine in? Might want to take a little initial timing out. The hood halfway popped because I'm not going to go about 25-30 miles per hour. First gear. Easy back there. And we're not going far. First, second, third. She's chasing rabbits. Need a front end alignment as always. Happy. Can't drive it too long like that. new brake pads on the front, so they've never been worn in yet. At least they aren't slipping. Blinkers working. I don't believe anybody's behind us. Power, power, power. Ramcharger revival. Well, plenty strong, especially considering it's an out-of-the-box carburetor. Oh, look. It spins both back tires. Very nice. I got a lot more work to do, but I got a really good start on it so far. Also, I think with that amount of rocking and rolling that it's doing, you can tell it probably needs new shocks. I got to do something about this coming up soon. But I know y'all don't like seeing body work stuff all the time, so I won't show you that, I guess. But we'll see. We're still looking for some seats, match up. I got to do wiring stuff in here, wiring stuff out there, wiring stuff everywhere. But I think we met the goal of the last 2 or 3 days. Anyway, I appreciate y'all watching, and I hope y'all follow along with the rest of this. Truck's improving every time we get to drive it and mess with it. So thank y'all for watching, and I'll catch you next time. I told you it'd spin too.